The rain had been falling all morning, soft and steady, soaking the streets of Willowbrook. On a quiet corner, near the edge of the small riverside park, a man stood in the drizzle, holding a weathered tape measure and staring at an empty patch of ground beneath an old oak tree. His name was Thomas Green, a 62-year-old carpenter whose hands had built everything from kitchen cabinets to front porches in this town over the years. But this was different. Thomas wasn't here for a client. He wasn't here for money. He was here because his heart wouldn't let him do anything else. A year ago, his only daughter, Lily, had passed away unexpectedly from a sudden illness. She was 27, bright, funny, the kind of young woman who always stopped to help a stranger. She had a habit of sitting in parks, sketching in her notebook, often chatting with whoever wandered close enough. She believed benches were more than just wood and nails, they were invitations. Invitations to rest, to talk, to simply be human together. After she died, Thomas felt as if the world had drained of color. He'd go to work, come home, eat, sleep, his life on autopilot. Until one afternoon, while walking through the park where Lily used to sit, he noticed the spot under the oak tree where she would spend hours. It was just grass now. No bench. No place for anyone to sit and pause the way she had. Something in him stirred that day. Maybe it was grief. Maybe it was love refusing to fade. He decided he would build a bench there, not a store-bought bench, but one made by his own hands. Something strong enough to last for decades. Something Lily would have loved. The next morning, he went into his workshop, the smell of sawdust already familiar comfort. He chose cedar for the wood, it was durable, weather-resistant, and carried a warm reddish hue. As he worked, he carved tiny flowers along the edges, because Lily had loved wildflowers. He sanded every surface until it was silky smooth, because she had hated splinters. On the underside, hidden from view, he burned into the wood a line from her favorite poem, "Sit here, and let the world slow down." It took him a week. When it was done, he loaded it into his old truck and drove to the park. The rain had stopped by then, and the ground was damp and soft. He set the bench down under the oak tree, bolting it firmly into place. There was no plaque, no name. He didn't want attention. This wasn't about recognition, it was about giving strangers a place to pause, the way Lily always had. He walked away without looking back. The first to sit there was a young boy named Evan. He was 10 years old, his clothes too thin for the chilly morning. He came to the park to escape the shouting in his home. The bench was dry, still carrying the warmth of the morning sun. He curled up on it, hugging his knees, and for the first time in days, he felt safe. The second was a woman named Grace. She was in her 40s, freshly divorced, carrying the heaviness of a life she hadn't expected. She came to the park with a coffee she didn't drink, sitting on the bench and staring at the river until the knot in her throat loosened. She left a small flower on the seat before going home. Then came Mr. Patel, an elderly widower who used to walk alone every morning. When he saw the bench, he sat down, closed his eyes, and imagined his wife beside him. He came every day after that, leaving crumbs for the birds and smiling at anyone who passed. Thomas never told anyone it was his bench. But he found himself returning to the park more often, pretending to be on his way somewhere, just so he could glance at the oak tree. And every time he saw someone sitting there, resting, talking, laughing, crying, he felt something inside him begin to heal. One crisp autumn afternoon, as the golden leaves spun to the ground, Thomas saw a young woman sitting on the bench with a guitar. She was singing softly, her voice carrying a gentle sadness. He didn't recognize her, but something about the way she closed her eyes while singing reminded him of Lily. When she finished, she noticed him watching. She smiled politely and said, "It's a nice spot, isn't it? I come here when I need to breathe." He nodded. "It's a good place to sit." She told him her name was Mia. She came to the park often, she said, because it was where she decided not to give up on music. A year ago, she had been ready to quit, convinced no one cared. But one day, she'd sat on this very bench, and a stranger had stopped to listen to her play. That small kindness had given her the courage to keep going. Thomas listened, his heart swelling. She had no idea the bench existed because of Lily, yet it had helped her in the same quiet way Lily used to help people. Before leaving, Mia looked at the bench thoughtfully. Whoever put this here, they changed more lives than they'll ever know. Months passed, and the bench became a fixture of the park's life. People began leaving things there for others to find, books with notes inside, scarves on cold days, tiny painted rocks with words like hope and love. It became more than a seat, it became a quiet message, you're not alone. Then, one snowy December morning, Thomas arrived at the park to find something resting on the bench. It was a framed photograph of a young woman laughing, a wildflower tucked in her hair. Beneath it, a note read, "To whoever made this bench, thank you. My daughter loved this spot. She passed away last year, but I come here to feel close to her." Thomas stood there, the snow falling softly around him, and tears blurred his vision. He realized he was not the only one who had lost, not the only one trying to keep love alive in the world. The bench had become a thread, weaving together strangers through the simple act of offering a place to sit. Years later, when Thomas's own time came, the town placed a small, simple plaque on the bench. It read, "Built for strangers, but meant for everyone. Sit here, and let the world slow down." And so they did, day after day, year after year. Strangers sat, stories began, and kindness lingered under that old oak tree, exactly as Lily would have wanted. Sometimes, the smallest things, like a place to sit, can carry the weight of love, loss, and hope. You never know how far your kindness will travel. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, subscribe to Pure Kindness Stories, and share it with someone who might need to be reminded that kindness still exists in this world.